morning. I got another hospice story. This one is, the last one was fitness and nutrition and end-of-life outcomes. This one is going to be about the importance of relationships. Now, I've got multiple examples of this one, but there's one in particular that comes into mind. It was a really sad case. Actually, there's two of them I can probably talk about. The first one, it was a World War II vet from the Guadalcanal battles. He was a sailor on a ship, and I'm pretty sure it was a destroyer, and it got hit by the Japanese and sank, and he was stuck in the torpedo hold. And when the ship was sinking, it shifted, and the torpedoes rolled out of the rack, and one of them landed on him and pinned him, with his leg, as the boat was sinking, and he was very near, going to drown. But as he's told me the story, basically what happened as the ship was shifting back and forth, the torpedo, I guess, eased up off of him enough that he was able to get out at the last minute. So that was pretty intense to think about, being stuck under a ship that's going down and being pinned by a torpedo. But he made it out alive, and he survived, obviously, if he lived for me to take care of him. But that wasn't the end of the story. He lived in a residential neighborhood, average income, average home. Basically like the home I grew up in with my parents. Like a 2-3 bedroom house. But the interesting part of the story, and the sad part, was that his son was a famous singer. His son had a hit album back in the 60s, early 70s. It's a song that I used to listen to and sing all the time on the radio. And I won't say who it is or what the song is, because I have to protect his privacy. But his son and he had fallen apart in their relationship. I guess he had been drinking or something. He had been a drinker from his stressful war days, or just his way of life. I don't know. He didn't seem like to be a religious man. But his son and he had a falling out, and they never spoke. And so he was extremely alone. I guess he had lost his wife a long time before that, and his son was estranged from him, never spoke, and he lived by himself. And the sad thing is that he was incontinent, he was depressed, he had a lot of health problems, and nobody took care of him. He was completely alone. His house was dark like a cave all the time. And it was just depressing. It was just a really depressing atmosphere. And I would go in and find him, especially toward the end. He could barely get in and out of the shower. That was a real difficult thing to do. And he was incontinent. And it's kind of amazing that he was still living by himself. He died like within weeks of me starting to take care of him. I didn't get to know him for very long, but I remember going in and finding him just completely soaked. His whole bed was soaked, and he was in a lot of pain, and it was extremely difficult. The house was cold. It was extremely difficult to get him cleaned up because he was in so much pain and couldn't move around very much. But he was a mess. That was very sad and depressing. And he just didn't have a lot of money. He was poor. He was just hanging by a shoestring, and then he died. And the moral of that story is the importance of maintaining healthy relationships in social contexts in your life. Now, I had another guy that was not that extreme, but he had a similar problem. He had several daughters. He had remarried, and I got to be good friends with him. I got to know him for quite a while. He was a veteran like myself. He was an airplane pilot. He flew, I think P-52s, I think. I don't remember what they're called. They're the ones that have the two tails that connect on the back wing during World War II. He flew one of those. He flew down in Panama. He was telling me about he got caught in a wind shear one time that made him drop 10,000 feet like in a few minutes. Kind of freaked him out. One of those bad storms along the equator. Anyway, his story was that he had like 4 daughters, I think, 4 or 5 daughters, I don't know how many, but he had several kids, and he was remarried, and I guess one of his daughters didn't like his new wife and didn't like him, and he was kind of a conservative, old school dad. And this was during the hippie days, and she went out to California and got messed up in drugs. Ended up going to a psychologist who hypnotized her regularly and convinced her that her father was the reason for her problems and that he had molested her when she was little. And basically the way I understood it was this daughter had basically estranged herself from her father because she'd gone mentally ill, and all the other kids defended their father and said it was a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, that was a sad story, and unfortunately that never got resolved either. Yeah, that was a sad deal. But he was much friendlier. We had a lot in common. He was from the same part of the country that I was, so we had a lot to talk about. I really liked him. So another short story. The moral is you need to have good social relationships, and if you don't, reach out and get some support from healthcare agencies or social services to have somebody come by and check on you. There's a lot of different programs that, with churches or charity groups. You need to have people in your life to come around and check on you and have relationships and to help take care of you, because I've taken care of some people who lived alone and didn't have any of that, and those are really, really dark, depressing ways to go. So, all right. God bless. Pray for me, a sinner. Over and out.